So, as Rich just said, my name is Branden Pannell, and I'm a first-time SJSK instructor among all of you. I'm originally from Harlem, New York City, but I currently go to Ave Maria, where I'm on a basketball scholarship. I'm entering into my senior year. I guess we'll start in prayer as always. Father, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
So, I'm going to share with you all today a little bit about my testimony and some of my struggles, but more importantly, what I learned from that testimony and struggles, and hope that you all too can take something away from it. Now, if I had to sum it up in a title, in a nutshell, it would be called Faith Over Fear. Now, quickly, by show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of The Stranger in the Lifeboat by Mitch Albom? So none of you. Okay, one. So, really briefly, the book starts with this guy named James. Now, James, he's a billionaire, a lot of money. And he decides that he wants to throw this really big party on his yacht. So he invites all of his friends, the creators, the innovators, everyone he can think of, and he brings them on this yacht. So everything is cool for the first couple hours. The evening is going as planned, they're talking, they're sharing, everything is smooth. Something happens and the yacht blows up. Kind of like the Titanic, it sinks. So everyone on that yacht, with the exception of 10 people, die. Now James, luckily, is one of those 10. And they survive by way of a lifeboat, hence the title. So these 10 people, they get out, and now they're stranded in the middle of the ocean in this lifeboat. Luckily, there's another man floating in the ocean off in the far. So the closer the man comes, the more questions these people have. Why is there another person that we don't know floating in the middle of the ocean? So the closer he comes, then finally they pull him into the lifeboat, and they say, "Who are you? Where'd you come from? What's up?" And so he says, "I am the Lord. And the only way any of you can get out of this situation is if you believe that I am who I said I am, being the Lord." So these people, they take it with a grain of salt. A couple days pass by, and everyone's tired. They're devastated, they're frustrated, they're hungry, right? Because nobody believes that he is who he says he is, so he's not helping. And so finally, this one woman, she's kind of feisty, she gets up, she crawls over to him in the little lifeboat, and she says, "You know, what's going on? Don't you see how worried we are? Why aren't you helping?" And he says, "It was you who created worry." And she fires back. She says, "Why would I create worry?" And he says, "To fill a void." And she says, "To fill a void of what?" And he says, "Faith." So I'm sitting in adoration, luckily, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, whoa. Now, although this is a fictional account, that hit me. And I thought about it. They created worry to fill a void of faith. You see, faith and worry cannot coexist at the same time. It is theoretically impossible for those two things to be present. The room is either filled with faith or is filled with worry. That was something I had to learn. Forget about filling the room with faith. I struggled to get one strand of faith. Now, I also said I'm from Harlem, New York City, and I love it. Great sports, good restaurants, a lot of things to do. But it is by far the most secular place I've ever lived in my life. All of that changed when I went down to Ave Maria. I went from this place where faith was nothing to a place where faith was everything. To a place where, I went from a place where faith was non-existent to a place where there was nothing without faith. I also told you guys that I play basketball. By show of hands, how many of you either played on a sports team or have played on a sports team? Okay, so practically everybody in the room. All right. So I want you guys to walk through year one with me briefly. So it's year one, I'm a freshman at Ave, and I'm excited. And I get to that first initial team meeting, and within 5 to 10 minutes, my coach looks at us and he says, "My job is not to make you a better basketball player." So I'm confused. And I'm saying in my mind, if his job is not to make me a better basketball player, why am I here? I signed this scholarship because I thought I was going to become a better player. He continues. He says, "When it's all said and done, God is not going to care about how many points you score. how well we executed the offense, how many wins and losses we have at the end of the season. So now I'm like, okay, my mind is silent because he's talking about God. I thought we were playing basketball. So he continues. When it's all said and done, the only thing God is going to care about is whether I made you a better son, a better person, a better man. He said, my job, my real job, is to get you to heaven. I said, whoa, that's deep. Never in my life has anybody invested in my spiritual well-being on day one. So I took this with me throughout my college journey. But we got to remember, it's only year one, and I'm here to play basketball. So year one comes, and I'm excited. I can't wait to play with these guys and show them what I can do. So I make all of these goals, these aspirations in my mind because it's my plan, right? I'm not really close to the Lord, at least not as close as I should be. I grew up in a Catholic household, but once I left that household, all of the environments I was in were secular. And so 3 or 4 months in to my freshman season, I get an elbow to a head and I have a concussion. But that's okay because I'm an athlete, right? So what we do is we're just gonna recover and we're gonna get right back into it. So I come back, I return, but they don't need me. They figured out a way to win without me. Okay, cool. Let's shake that off. Now it's year 2. Now I'm a little bit older, just a tad bit wiser, and I've been here for 1 year. So I think I know what it takes to now play at this level, to succeed at this level. The only thing that's on my mind is basketball. That's it. Year 2. 2 days into preseason, for those of you who don't know, which all of you should, preseason is where you practice or kind of prepare for the actual season. So 2 days within preseason, I sprained my ankle. Okay, no worries, because I'm going to shake that off, I'm going to rehab, I'm going to recover, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to be fine. So I get back, and another 2 days into my return, I tear a ligament in my hip. Okay, cool. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to rehab, I'm going to recover, and I'm going to come back. Now, basketball is still the only thing on my mind. That is the only thing I can think about in 24 hours. So I get back, and I have an okay season. I end up finishing it out. I play for about 3 or 4 months. I'm wrong, I didn't finish it out. I played for 3 or 4 months, and all of a sudden, I got dizzy. And when I say I got dizzy, I mean I would be running and dribbling on the court, but the room is spinning. You guys know that thing you used to do as a kid where you take a baseball bat and you like twirl around 50 million times, and then you get up and you're like, oh my God. So that was how I felt on a daily basis. I don't know why, but I just started getting dizzy. So I take this with a grain of salt, and I keep moving. So now it's year 3, which is just last year. And now I've been in this Catholic community long enough when I knew God did not want me to do something. See, I wasn't where I needed to be in my faith, but I was facing the right direction. Back at home in New York City, I was facing this way. But now my feet, my shoulders, they're aligned towards the altar. It's just my eyes are not centered on Christ. So I still had a lot of work that needed to be done. Nevertheless, it's year 3, and boy, am I still excited. Everybody, with the exception of 4 players from my past team, had either graduated or transferred. And out of those 4 players that were left, I was the only one, I was the longest tenured player out of those 4, which meant I know everything about the program. I've been here the longest. Hey, in other words, this is my year. This is my team. I'm going to run the show. 2 days into preseason, can anybody guess what happened?
Injury.
Okay, what kind of injury? Concussion. So I get elbow to the head again, and another concussion. So like I said, I've been in this community long enough where I think I know that I'm done. There's no more. So I go to my mother, I go to my spiritual director. I say, look, it's clear God does not want me playing basketball. I'm done. I'd rather take a healthy head over this orange ball. You can have it. Year 3 was also the year where God granted me just a tad bit of vision and even a smaller tad bit of understanding. You see, it wasn't that he did not want me to play basketball. It was that basketball had become my God. And because that is all my attention consisted of, there were other areas of my life that were suffering. And it was through that period of time where I stepped away that he revealed these 4 things to me. Number 1, I was depressed. Why? I can't exactly tell you where that came from or when it started. Nevertheless, it deserved my attention. Number 2, I was severely anxious all the time. Could have been from growing up in New York City, having to look over your shoulder. Could have been from the fear of not living up to other people's expectations. Nevertheless, that also deserved my attention. Number 3, I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. Little did I know God would need me to walk into rooms where I would be so focused on his will that I don't have time to be insecure or uncomfortable. And then number 4, I wasn't keeping him close. Now, I said that I had started to grow in my spiritual life, yes, but there were areas where I was purposely excluding him from. And those were the areas that I needed him most. A lot of times, at least in my experience, God will mask opportunities in the form of setbacks. And the questions that sometimes we ask are why? Lord, why this? Lord, why that? I can't tell you why I got hurt so many times, but I can tell you that they served a purpose that led me back to him. On the contrary, I ask that you all ask new questions. Ask what? Lord, what would you like me to do with this new information? What would you like me to do now in this present moment, given my circumstance? If you don't like what, ask how. Lord, how have I failed to include you in my life? How have I fallen short of serving your people? If you don't like how, ask where. Lord, where can I better bring glory to your name? You see, when I started asking those kind of questions, he did not have a problem giving me timely responses. So, as you can tell, year 3 was special. Year 3 was extraordinary. It was also in year 3 where God introduced me to some pretty cool people. By show of hands, how many of you know who Tom Monahan is? With the exception of Joe Cooper. Okay, this is good. So, Tom Monahan used to be the owner of Domino's, the pizza company. He sold Domino's for about $1 billion, I think back in maybe close to 2000, and he opened up Ave Maria, or he founded rather, Ave Maria University. So my school has these dinners from time to time where they invite Tom and some of his guests, the board of trustees, alumni, and some other random people. Now, for some reason, maybe by God's grace, I'm always invited to these dinners. Always. And when I get there, I'm always at the table with Mr. Monahan. So I get to the last dinner, and it turns out the president of the university is sitting in front of me, and Tom Monahan is sitting on my left. So, you know, I've been here a couple of times, so I've kind of gotten to know these two guys. But now, because I had been walking with the Lord a little better, because he had been working on all of those issues I had, I was ready to take advantage of what was in front of me, whatever wisdom these two gentlemen could grant me. And so I'm also at the point in my life where I think I know what I want to do. Not specifically, but I have an idea. I know I want to make good money, I'm going to do something great with that money, and I love God. What better man to talk to than Tom Monahan? So I look at him and I say, hey, Mr. Monahan, what wisdom or advice do you have for the younger generation? All of a sudden, the room gets quiet. Now, everybody was still talking, but I couldn't hear them. Monahan's voice was the only thing I could hear. And he says, daily mass, adoration, confession, and a daily rosary. Now, I gotta be honest, if I'm being transparent with you all, my first reaction, not to him, but up here, was what? That's the best advice you got for me? You've owned a multi-billion-dollar company, you sold that company, and founded the university that has changed my life and the life of so many others. And that's the best advice you could give me. And then it hit. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. That's the best advice he could have given me. You see, he owned a multi-billion-dollar company. He sold that company and then founded the university that had changed my life and the life of so many others. That's the best advice he could give me. What gives? I mean, what gives? Now, Tom is what I would consider a heavy hitter, right? He's one of those people. He can get in rooms. He's like a VIP guy all around the world. You know how many people he's met with? How much knowledge, wisdom, experience he's accumulated throughout his existence? Yet that is what he chooses to grant me. What gives? It's because at the end of the day, the room is either filled with faith or it's not. And what Monahan was trying to tell me that evening is that if God is put first, the room will always be filled with faith. But not only that, he will take care of every single thing in your life, no matter how big or small. So, for my note takers in the room, because I know I have some, I'm going to give y'all a couple points and then we're done. Point number 1, the room is either filled with faith or it's not. The room is you. The room is your mind, it's your body, it's your soul, it's your spirit. Faith is a choice. We can choose actions that lead us back to God. This includes prayer, this includes adoration, this includes confession. It is our job to make sure that we fill our rooms, our temples, with faith. Because there is no in-between with God. You're either with him or you're not. Point number 2, faith without works is dead. Now remember I told you all a little bit about that time I was away from basketball. It was from February 2023 to January 2024. So that's just a little under a year, that's 11 months. There was one non-negotiable condition for God to work in my life. Only one. And it was one I had to agree to. I had to show up. You see, he's not a do-it-for-me God where he does all the work and we sit on the couch smacking Doritos. He's not in that business. That's not how this works. You see, those 11 months consisted of prayer, mass, confession. It consisted of therapy. It consisted of eating right. It consisted of changing my friend group, changing my music taste, changing my movie taste. There was a lot of work that had to be done. I had a part to play in my own well-being. Faith without works is dead. Number 3, forget why. A lot of times, everyone in this room, if you haven't already, you will hit adversity. Things will happen to you that you don't understand and that you don't like. Our faith is tested in how we respond to those things. And especially we like to point fingers. I know I do. And God was the first thing I pointed a finger at. Instead of why, like I said before, I invite you. Ask what. Lord, what is it you need me to do now? If you don't like what, ask where. Lord, where can I better serve you? Where have I failed to include you in my life? If you don't like where, ask how. How can I better bring glory to your name? How can I serve your people? Forget why, start asking the right questions. Number 4, confidence. Confidence is the external result of an internal faith. Let me say that one more time. Confidence is the external result of an internal faith. You see, when I was growing up, I thought I lacked confidence, severe confidence. I struggled with people. I was awful in social situations. And quite honestly, I didn't want to be seen. I thought it was maybe a low self-esteem thing. No, I lacked faith. You see, God had also revealed to me through that period of time that when I walk into any room in the country focused on what he needs me to learn and what he needs me to give, all of a sudden it feels like my confidence is through the roof. It feels like my faith has lifted. It feels like God himself is standing next to me. And it's not because I read a self-help book, no shame for self-help books, but it's not because I read a book or I tricked my mind into a way of being. No, it's because when I walk into the room, I'm focused on God's will. And that is the only thing that clouds my mind. You see, when we're focused on our Lord, there's no space for worry. There's no space for anxiety. There's no space for fear. Confidence is the external result of an internal faith. And lastly, of an internal faith. And lastly, faith over fear. Fear is not real. It is a product of our imagination that causes us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. Now, please do not mistake me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. And it's a choice that only you can make. Faith over fear. As I said before, my name is Branden Pannell, and I'm a first-time SJSP instructor among you all. It's been great growing and getting to know and working with most of you, and I hope I continue to get to know you all better. I'm originally from Harlem, New York City, but I currently reside down in Ave Maria, Florida, where I'm on a basketball scholarship. I'm entering into my senior year. I hope you all enjoyed what I prepared, and thanks for listening.